Here's your wrestling news for August 21st, 2022, and we're kicking off today with All Elite Wrestling, and on next week's AEW Dynamite, World Champion CM Punk and Interim Champion Jon Moxley will face off to unify the titles. Many fans have been critical of the decision to put such a huge match on free TV, believing it should take place at All Out on September 4th, and that is reportedly still the plan. In a report from the Wrestling Observer newsletter, it's noted that Moxley vs. Punk is still the plan to headline All Out, and no replacement match has been made. Despite rumors of the return of MJF happening soon, it's not believed that he will have any influence on the main event of All Out, as some fans are expecting. Of course, this will likely mean that neither man becomes AEW's undisputed world champion on Dynamite, and that the promise of the match will have just been a ratings ploy. This ploy may work, but we doubt fans will be thrilled to have been suckered in by the false promise of a new champion, so next week could be an interesting week for Tony Khan. Last month, it was reported that WWE was at long last ditching their PG rating for Monday Night Raw and returning to being TV-14. However, those reports were a bit too eager, as it was later reported that WWE were planning on making the change, but nothing has happened yet. During this week's NXT 2.0 Heatwave event, several chants from the crowd had to be muted to fit the show's PG rating, and during a recap on the Bryan and Vinny show, Bryan Alvarez said how crowd chants is a factor behind the push for TV-14. Honestly, one of the reasons that they wanted to go TV-14 was because they're sick of having to edit out these chants. WWE is expected to change the PG rating to TV-14 on Raw, but it's not expected to change too much, as the company still wants to appeal to their sponsors. Time will tell when WWE actually changes the rating of the red brand, but once they do, fans will have their voices heard no matter what they're saying. For decades, Vince McMahon ran WWE and much of the wrestling world, but that all came to an end this year. After 4 decades on top, McMahon retired last month thanks to the ongoing investigation into alleged misconduct with female employees. Fans have certainly heard a lot about McMahon over the past month, and now a new documentary is in the works. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer said that the new doc had not been approved by WWE, who had been working on a doc with Netflix recently, though that has been shelved. McMahon may be retired, but his influence continues to be felt in the wrestling world, and we'll just have to see what's covered in this highly anticipated documentary. In October 2021, WWE's draft sent Raw Women's Champion Charlotte Flair to Smackdown, while SmackDown Women's Champion Becky Lynch, who had returned at that year's SummerSlam, was still classed as a Raw superstar. As a solution, the pair exchanged their titles during an infamous segment where Flair dropped the title on the ground for Lynch to pick up. It was later reported that Flair had gone off script and that the two had a huge argument backstage over the Queen's actions, but that's not how Charlotte says things went down. Speaking on Stone Cold's Broken Skull sessions, Flair addressed the title exchange and implied that what she did wasn't purposeful or malicious. "I wish I could sit here and tell you that I did it on purpose, but if people need me to be that bad guy, I'll be that bad guy. Things happen on screen. I would never go on a scripted television show and purposely do something on purpose. It was accidental." Despite at one point being closer than sisters, Flair and Lynch are barely on speaking terms these days, even if arguably their most infamous on-screen incident was just an accident, according to Charlotte. Over to SmackDown, as this week's show was meant to see Natalya and Sonya Deville face NXT 2.0's Nikkita Lyons and Zoe Stark, marking the main roster debut of both women. That match didn't happen, and while WWE explained their absence as due to Stark suffering an injury during her women's title match at Heatwave, that reportedly isn't the only reason. In a report from Dave Meltzer, it's noted that while Stark did suffer a concussion and wasn't cleared, that shouldn't have prevented Lyons being on SmackDown, adding that she couldn't go because she's not vaccinated. This week's SmackDown took place across the border in Canada, and the nation's immigration policies are still in place requiring travelers to provide proof of vaccination to enter. It's possible that WWE was unaware that Lyons was unvaccinated and unable to enter the country, as they presumably wouldn't have promoted her if they knew she wouldn't be wrestling. Instead of Stark and Lyons, Toxic Attraction's Jacy Jayne and Gigi Dolan competed on SmackDown and are one step closer to winning the WWE Women's Tag Team titles, a spot that had been meant for Lyons and Stark. This week, WWE decimated the NXT UK roster with their massive layoffs, which came at a strange time for one superstar in particular. One of the biggest names to be cut this week was Flash Morgan Webster, who had been a former NXT UK Tag Team Champion, and his name was one of the first to be announced. Behind his Fightful paywall, Sean Ross Sapp revealed that Webster's release was notable as he had just signed a new long-term contract with WWE. Webster had been sidelined since last year, and he was on a short-term extension with WWE, but the company clearly felt it was the right call to offer him a brand new deal. One of the first Welsh champions in WWE, Webster was with WWE since 2018, and prior to that, worked with PWG, Progress, and various indie promotions. It's entirely possible that WWE will offer Webster another contract, this time for NXT Europe, when that promotion is up and running. But after being released mere months into a new deal, Flash may be hesitant to re-sign. In 2019, AEW launched their flagship show Dynamite, and last year added AEW Rampage to the TV schedule. In addition to these two, AEW also hosts Dark and Dark Elevation on YouTube, but more content is coming. We've already reported that AEW has plans for a reality show covering the lives of the wrestlers when not on TV, but that's not the only plan. During Wrestling Observer Radio, Meltzer discussed plans for yet another AEW show, saying, "They're going to get another television show. We know about the reality show, and if they remain successful, their prospects of getting another show are there. There's so much you could do. It's going to be a lot harder to book, with more shows, but yes, for both companies, I could see more shows." There's no word on when this new AEW wrestling show will be confirmed or how it will differ itself from Dynamite or Rampage, but as long as the company continues being successful, a new AEW show will be coming to our screens. And we're ending today with some unfortunate news from wrestling legend Bobby Fulton, who has been rushed to the hospital with pneumonia. On Twitter, Dylan Hines, the son of Fulton, confirmed the news and asked for prayers of fans as his father battles double pneumonia and sepsis. Fulton's wrestling career began back in 1977, and he's best known for his tag team work with Tommy Rogers as the Fantastics, becoming champions in Jim Crockett Promotions, the NWA, WCCW, and Smoky Mountain Wrestling, just to name a few. Fulton wrestled his final match back in December 2019 and would announce his in-ring retirement in July 2020. And we're sending him and the entire Fulton family the best at this difficult time. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.